A massive percentage of Mazda owners are currently making at least one mistake that is silently destroying their car's engine, transmission, or suspension right now. They have no idea. By the time they realize what they did, the repair bill is $5,000. Today, we expose 15 expensive mistakes that Mazda owners make constantly. Some will surprise you. Some will make you angry because you probably did one yesterday. Let us go. Number 15. Using regular gas. When premium is recommended, your Mazda owner's manual says premium recommended. You interpret that as optional. You pull into the cheap gas station and fill up with regular 87 octane to save money. This can reduce performance and efficiency over time, especially in turbocharged Mazda engines designed to benefit from premium fuel. Here's exactly what happens inside your engine. Regular gasoline has a lower octane rating than premium. Octane rating measures the fuel's ability to resist premature ignition under high compression. When you put regular gas in an engine designed for premium, the fuel ignites earlier than the computer expects it to. The knock sensor inside your engine detects this. It is literally listening for the sound of premature ignition. When the sensor detects knock, it sends a signal to the computer. The computer responds by retarding the timing, that is, delaying the spark plug ignition to compensate for the fuel's lower octane rating. The engine runs, but it is running degraded. Over months of doing this regularly, the engine adapts to running on regular gas by permanently changing its ignition timing. The fuel economy drops noticeably. The power drops. The acceleration feels sluggish. Over time, the engine may feel noticeably less responsive until the ECU adapts again to higher octane fuel. But it gets worse. That adaptation is stored in the computer's long-term memory. The ECU gradually adapts ignition timing and engine behavior around the lower octane fuel. When you finally fill up with premium fuel, the engine runs on premium with settings calibrated for regular. It runs less efficiently on premium than it did when it was brand new. You saved $5 per fill-up and lost $5,000 in engine performance and longevity. Premium fuel is recommended on Mazda engines, particularly the turbocharged models like the CX-5 Turbo and the Mazda 3 Turbo, and the higher performance naturally aspirated engines. The word recommended does not mean optional. It means the engine is designed to run on premium for optimal performance and longevity. In some cases, drivers notice improved responsiveness after switching back to premium fuel and allowing the ECU time to readapt. The reset clears the computer's learned adaptations and forces it to relearn proper timing on whatever fuel you put in next. Most Mazda owners have absolutely no idea this is happening inside their engine every time they cheap out on fuel, and the next mistake destroys transmission so consistently that mechanics can almost predict when the failure will happen. If you have been using regular gas and you did not know this, you need to subscribe because the next mistakes are even more costly and far more common. Number 14. Skipping transmission. Fluid flushes. Your Mazda owner's manual recommends a transmission fluid flush every 60,000 miles. You look at the cost, $250 to $400, and you skip it. Your transmission is now on borrowed time. Transmission fluid does three critical things. It lubricates the gears. It cools the transmission as it absorbs heat from friction. It transfers power from the engine to the wheels through hydraulic pressure. All three functions are essential to transmission longevity. Over time, transmission fluid breaks down. The friction modifiers that keep gears from grinding degrade. The viscosity, which is the thickness of the fluid, changes as it heats and cools repeatedly. The fluid becomes darker and thinner. Small particles of metal from gear wear accumulate in the fluid. A Mazda transmission is a precision instrument. It relies on exact fluid viscosity to function properly. When the fluid degrades, the transmission cannot shift correctly. Shift points become unpredictable. Shift quality becomes harsh and jerky. The transmission hunts between gears, trying to find the right ratio but never settling. At first, the symptoms are subtle. A slight hesitation here, a rough downshift there. Most owners ignore these signs because the car still drives. That is exactly how expensive transmission failures begin. You ignore the maintenance warning. The transmission continues degrading. The internal components wear faster because they are not being lubricated properly. The friction material on the clutch packs wears away. The valve body that controls shift timing becomes sluggish. Then one day, the transmission suddenly slams into gear. The RPMs flare during acceleration. The car hesitates, pulling away from traffic lights. Now the damage is severe. At some point, the transmission cannot function anymore. It fails completely. A transmission rebuild costs $4,000 to $6,000. Some transmissions need complete replacement, which costs $7,000 to $9,000. You saved $400 on flushes, and now you are paying $6,000 on a rebuild. This is not theoretical. Many mechanics report seeing increased transmission wear and shifting problems in vehicles that go long periods without fluid service. Dealership service records show a clear correlation between transmission failures and skipped fluid maintenance. And unbelievably, many Mazda owners ignore the next warning sign even when the car literally tells them something is wrong. Number 13. Ignoring dashboard. Warning lights. Your check engine light comes on. You have no idea why. You assume it will go away if you ignore it long enough. It will not. The warning light means your car's computer detected a fault in one of its monitored systems. The fault is stored in memory. Every time the car starts, the computer checks that fault again. As long as the fault exists, the light stays on. Ignoring the light does not make the fault go away. It makes the fault worse. The underlying problem continues to degrade while you ignore the warning. Many check engine lights indicate problems that get exponentially more expensive if ignored. An oxygen sensor fault that costs $200 to fix becomes a catalytic converter fault that costs $1,000 to fix if ignored for months. The catalytic converter gets damaged by the incorrect air-fuel mixture the bad oxygen sensor causes. A transmission pressure sensor fault that costs $300 to fix becomes a transmission failure that costs $5,000 to fix if ignored for months. The transmission does not shift correctly without proper sensor data. A brake system sensor fault that costs $150 to fix becomes complete brake failure that costs $3,000 to fix if ignored. The dangerous part is that many of these systems fail gradually. The car still drives, so owners assume everything is fine. Meanwhile, the damage keeps spreading deeper into the vehicle. That light is your car's way of asking you to fix a small problem before it becomes a catastrophic problem. It is an early warning system. Ignore it at your peril. Get the code read. It costs nothing at most auto parts stores. You can also get a Bluetooth OBD scanner for $20 and read the code yourself using a phone app. Identify what the code means. Fix the problem. Your Mazda will thank you by running reliably for another 200,000 miles. And if you have been ignoring Autosalam warning lights thinking they are harmless, the next mistake is probably happening inside your engine right now too. Number 12. Skipping oil changes. Your Mazda was sold with lifetime synthetic oil. You interpret this as never change the oil again. You are wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Lifetime oil is marketing. It means the oil will last the lifetime of the normal maintenance intervals, which for Mazda is 10,000 miles. It does not mean the oil lasts forever. It does not mean the oil never needs changing. Your engine oil does not just lubricate moving parts. It also suspends contaminants. As you drive, combustion byproducts accumulate in the oil. Metal particles from normal wear of pistons, rings, and bearings get suspended in the oil. Water vapor from condensation accumulates. The oil becomes darker. It becomes thinner. It loses its protective properties. An oil analysis of lifetime oil after 20,000 miles shows oil that has lost 40% of its protective properties. By 30,000 miles, the oil is providing minimal protection. Mazda engines are precision instruments that tolerate degraded oil poorly. When the oil cannot protect properly, metal-to-metal contact increases. Bearing wear accelerates exponentially. Timing chain stretch increases, which throws off engine timing. At first, you may notice nothing at all. Then the engine starts sounding rougher during cold starts. Fuel economy begins dropping. The engine feels less responsive. By the time most drivers notice these symptoms, internal wear has already accelerated dramatically. Consistently delaying oil changes dramatically increases the risk of premature engine wear and expensive repairs later. The damage is permanent. Change oil every 10,000 miles, and your engine will run to 300,000 miles with normal maintenance. The choice costs either $400 in maintenance over the lifetime of the car or $10,000 in engine work. And if you think dirty oil is destructive, the next mistake can destroy an engine in less than 15 minutes. Number 11. Driving with low coolant. Your temperature gauge is creeping toward the hot zone. It is early morning. You assume you will reach your destination before it gets worse. You keep driving. This is one of the fastest ways to destroy a Mazda engine. When coolant temperature rises above normal, the metal of the engine block expands. The cylinder head expands. The cylinder head gasket expands. These expansions are precise and calculated by the engineers who designed the engine. But if temperature gets too high, the metal expands beyond the safe tolerance. Gaskets blow, cylinder heads warp, engine blocks crack. The damage is permanent and irreversible. At first, the overheating may seem minor. Maybe the gauge rises slightly. Maybe the heater stops blowing cold air. Many drivers convince themselves the problem is temporary. Then steam appears. Coolant leaks out. The engine suddenly loses power. Now the damage is catastrophic. A blown head gasket costs $1,500 to $2,000 to fix. A cracked block means complete engine replacement. That is $5,000 to $8,000. You saw a temperature warning. You ignored it. You cost yourself $7,000 by driving 5 more miles. Continuing to drive an overheating engine can quickly turn a minor cooling issue into a major engine repair. Keep your coolant level checked monthly. If the temperature gauge rises toward the hot zone, pull over immediately. Do not keep driving. Let the engine cool. Identify why the temperature is rising. Is there a leak? Is the thermostat stuck? Fix it before driving again. Coolant is cheap, engines are expensive, and what most Mazda owners do next after damaging their engine only makes the repair bills even worse. Number 10. Using cheap spark plugs. The dealer wants $80 for genuine Mazda spark plugs. You go to an auto parts store and buy spark plugs for $15. They look the same. They fit the same. You are saving $65. You are not saving money. You are burning money. Cheap spark plugs have lower heat resistance. They cannot handle the extreme temperatures inside the combustion chamber. They foul more easily. They wear faster. They create weaker sparks. Your engine has to work harder to ignite fuel. Cheap plugs are manufactured to lower tolerances. The electrodes are thicker. The ceramic insulator is weaker. The heat range is often incorrect for your specific engine. Over 40,000 miles, cheap plugs cause noticeable performance degradation. The car feels sluggish off the line. Fuel economy drops noticeably. Idle becomes rough and unstable. At first, the symptoms are subtle, slight hesitation. Rough starts during cold mornings. Reduced throttle response. Most owners never suspect the spark plugs because the engine still technically runs. OEM Mazda spark plugs are engineered specifically for Mazda engine tolerances. They last 80 to 100,000 miles with proper maintenance. Cheap plugs last 15 to 20,000 miles. You saved $60 on the first set, and now you are replacing plugs every 20,000 miles instead of every 80,000 miles. You are replacing plugs 5 times as often. You are paying more per mile for spark plugs on cheap plugs than on OEM plugs. The cheaper option costs more over time, and the next mistake slowly suffocates your engine while destroying fuel economy at the same time. Number 9. Not replacing your air filter. Your air filter is supposed to be replaced every 15,000 miles. You have not replaced it in 40,000 miles. Your engine is suffocating. A clogged air filter restricts the amount of air flowing into the engine. The engine cannot breathe properly. It compensates by running rich, adding more fuel to make up for the lack of air. The computer sees less air, so it injects more fuel to maintain the correct air-fuel ratio. The fuel economy drops dramatically. Power drops noticeably. Acceleration becomes sluggish. The car feels like it has lost 50 horsepower overnight. Fuel economy can drop from 25 miles per gallon to 18 miles per gallon. The dangerous part is that the performance decline happens gradually. Drivers slowly adapt to the weaker acceleration and reduced efficiency without realizing how badly the engine is struggling. You think there is something mechanically wrong. You schedule a diagnostic. You pay $150 for the diagnostic. The technician replaces the air filter. The problem is solved. You paid $150 for a diagnostic on a $50 problem. Air filters cost $12 to $30 depending on your Mazda model. Placing them every 15,000 miles takes 5 minutes. Do it yourself and it costs almost nothing. Comment below with your Mazda model if you're still watching right now. I want to see how many CX-5 and Mazda 3 owners are making it this far, because the next mistakes become even more expensive. Number 8. Ignoring brake pad. Where your brake warning light comes on. You assume you have time before you need to replace the pads. You can get another 1,000 miles out of them. By the time you get around to it, your rotors are destroyed. Brake pads are designed to wear down. That is their primary function. When brake pads wear thin, the metal backing of the pad contacts the rotor directly. Metal-on-metal friction creates severe heat. The heat warps the rotor. The friction wears away the rotor surface. At first, you hear slight squeaking. Grinding starts, vibrates during braking. By that point, the brake system is already suffering major wear. Once the rotor is damaged, it must be replaced. You cannot just replace the pads. The rotors must be resurfaced or replaced. Rotor replacement adds $500 to $1,000 to your brake service cost. Brake pads cost $100 to $200. Brake rotors cost $500 to $800. Replace pads proactively when they reach 50% thickness. Never drive to the point of metal-on-metal contact. If you have been hearing grinding while braking and ignoring it, the next mistake is even worse because it creates an actual chemical reaction inside your engine. Number 7. Mixing coolant. Types and Katsuninit. Your Mazda uses a specific type of coolant. The owner's manual specifies it clearly. You go to an auto parts store and buy whatever coolant is on sale or looks bright colored. You just created a chemical reaction inside your engine block. Different coolant types have different chemical additives. Orange coolant has different additives than pink coolant. Yellow coolant has different additives than blue coolant. Mixing them causes the additives to react with each other. The reaction creates sediment. The sediment clogs cooling passages. The engine overheats. At first, nothing seems wrong. The car drives normally. Then months later, the cooling system starts struggling. Temperatures creep upward more frequently. Heater performance changes. Internal corrosion spreads slowly through the cooling system. Mazda engines use specific coolant formulations. Using the wrong type is not a minor mistake, it is a catastrophic mistake that costs thousands of dollars to fix. The engine block can be permanently damaged. Check your owner's manual. Write down the exact coolant type. Buy that specific type. Use only that type. Every single time you add coolant. And what most Mazda owners ignore next destroys tires faster than they realize while also making the car more dangerous to drive. Number 6, not maintaining tire pressure. Your tire pressure is low. You notice the warning light. You assume you will get to it eventually. Meanwhile, your tires are dying. Low tire pressure causes the tire sidewalls to flex excessively. The tire heats up from the constant flexing. The rubber breaks down from the heat. The structural integrity fails. A tire that should last 40,000 miles fails at 25,000 miles because of low pressure. The tire fails suddenly. You have a blowout. But before the blowout happens, fuel economy drops, steering response weakens, braking distances increase, the car becomes less stable at highway speeds. Most drivers never connect these changes to something as simple as tire pressure. Tires cost $600 to $1,000 per set for a Mazda. Losing 15,000 miles of tire life because of low pressure costs you $300 per tire. That is $1,200 lost. Check tire pressure monthly. Keep tires at the exact pressure specified on the door jamb. Not the pressure on the tire sidewall. The pressure on the door jamb is the correct pressure for your Mazda. Stay until number 1 because the mistake there quietly causes almost every expensive repair on this entire list. Number 5, towing beyond rated capacity. Your Mazda can tow 2,000 pounds according to the manual. You load a trailer with 2,500 pounds. Your transmission is now overheating. Mazda transmissions are engineered for specific load capacities. Exceed that capacity and the transmission cannot cool itself properly. The fluid temperature rises above safe operating temperature. The transmission shifts harder. The gearbox wears faster. You're not just towing 2,500 pounds. You are towing with a transmission that is overheating and struggling to maintain shift quality. At first, you may only notice delayed shifts or higher RPMs climbing hills. Then the transmission starts slipping under load. Eventually, the damage becomes permanent. The transmission will fail prematurely. The repair bill will be catastrophic. You may need complete transmission replacement. Stay within the rated towing capacity. Always. Check your manual. Follow the limit. And the next mistake is something people do every winter morning without realizing they are shortening engine life dramatically. Number 4, cold engine revving. It is freezing outside. You start your Mazda. You immediately accelerate hard to warm up the engine faster. You just accelerated the death of your engine bearings. When an engine is cold, the oil is thick and does not flow properly. The oil takes several seconds to minutes to reach all the critical lubrication points in the engine. Revving a cold engine forces oil to move through the engine before it is warmed up and thinned. The oil cannot lubricate properly. Metal-to-metal contact increases dramatically. At first, the engine seems completely fine. That is what makes this mistake dangerous. The wear accumulates silently over years until the engine eventually develops bearing noise, timing issues, or oil consumption problems. Engine bearings wear years faster when cold revved regularly. The bearing surfaces that should last 300,000 miles wear out in 150,000 miles. Start your Mazda. Let it idle for 30 seconds to a minute. Drive gently for the first 5 minutes. Let the engine warm up gradually, then drive normally. This simple habit extends engine life significantly, and the next mistake can actually cause your brakes to fail when you need them most. Number 3, not changing. Brake fluid. Your brake fluid has not been changed in 8 years. You assume brake fluid lasts forever. It does not. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air. Over time, water accumulation lowers the boiling point of the brake fluid. When brakes get hot from extended braking, the water in the fluid boils. The boiling creates vapor bubbles. Vapor in the brake lines reduces braking pressure. Your brakes become less responsive or fail entirely. At first, braking may feel completely normal during daily driving. Then one day during heavy braking, the pedal suddenly feels soft. The stopping distance increases. Panic sets in. You have no warning. You were at a stoplight. You press the brake pedal. Nothing happens. Brake fluid should be changed every 2 years. Reliable braking in all conditions. And if you have ever experienced rough shifting before, the next mistake probably explains exactly why. Number 2. Ignoring transmission. Warning signs. Your transmission is shifting rough. The shift from second to third gear is noticeably harsh and jerky. You think it will go away. It will not. It will get worse. Harsh shifting is a warning sign. It means the transmission is struggling to execute a shift. The internal hydraulic pressure is not where it should be. The problem is getting worse every day. Every day you drive without addressing it, the transmission becomes more damaged. At first, the harsh shift only happens occasionally. Then, it happens daily. Then, the transmission hesitates, pulling away from stops. Eventually, the gearbox begins slipping badly enough that driving becomes unsafe. Address transmission problems immediately. Do not drive more than necessary. Get a diagnostic. Fix the issue. The difference between a $500 repair and a $5,000 repair is often just a few weeks of ignored warning signs. And now we reach the mistake that quietly causes almost every expensive problem on this entire list. Number 1. Skipping regular maintenance schedule. You skip recommended maintenance for 50,000 miles. You do not do scheduled services. You do not replace filters. You do not flush fluids. Then something breaks. You panic. You take your Mazda to the dealer. The dealer performs a full diagnostic. They discover that your transmission fluid is overdue for a flush. Your brake fluid is old and contaminated. Your spark plugs are worn. Your air filter is clogged. Your coolant is degraded. The repair bill is $3,000 for maintenance you should have done gradually over 50,000 miles. If you had done the maintenance on schedule, you would have spent $500 total, spread across 50,000 miles. You tried to save money by skipping maintenance. You ended up spending 6 times more money by deferring it. The maintenance schedule exists for a reason. It exists to keep costs low and reliability high. Follow it. Every single item, every single interval. Most catastrophic repair bills do not come from one massive failure. They come from years of small, neglected maintenance items finally catching up all at once. Your Mazda will thank you by running reliably for 300,000 miles. Ignore it, and you will be calling a tow truck at 150,000 miles. The small habits you ignore today usually become the expensive repair bills you cannot avoid later. Drop a comment telling me which mistake surprised you the most. And honestly, how many of these have you actually done before? If you learned something new today, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-world car advice that can save you thousands in repair bills later.